I'd like to say thank you to you, service providers in the after school and out of school time, for doing what you do. If we had more people like you, we wouldn't be dealing with a lot of the social ills that we're dealing with in our communities in a place called America. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for your work and your effort. Good afternoon. My name is Calvin Mackie, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm from Backertown, Gerttown, Zion City. I'm from the lower 9 where we don't mind dying. I'm from that Wild Magnolia. I thought I told you. I'm from that CP3. You know me. Oh, yeah, I done shocked some of you all already because you realize it's not going to be the keynote you thought it was going to be. When they gave you that bio and read that bio and talked about all that stuff, you thought I was going to stand up here and go, hi, my name is Calvin Mackie. I mean, Dr. Mackie, and it's so great. Oh, no, it's not one of those days. I got to give you all a couple of caveats before we get started because I've shocked some of you all already. My beautiful wife, Tracy happens to be a pharmacist, and she believes that I'm ADD and I've never been treated before. So there's no way I can stand at this podium. I'm like Pookie and Ray Ray that you work with every afternoon. I'm that little dude that just got to keep moving. You understand what I'm saying? So when I'm saying I know my kind. I can see it all in your eyes. Y'all work with children like me. So my ADD is kicked in, so I can't stand still. Caveat number two is don't confuse my passion with anger. Everywhere I go around the world, I've spoken on three continents, on 7 countries, in front of 2 head of states. And usually when I finish, I was at General Electric once, and it was Jeff, M. Melt, L. Sharpton, and me. Now that's gangster. And when I finished, I know Jeff M. Melt said, that's an angry young black man right there. I'm not angry, I'm passionate. I'm passionate about our children. And if more people was passionate like me about our children, we wouldn't have a whole lot of issues. As a matter of fact, Martin Luther King said, at the end of the day, it's not the words of my enemies that I shall remember, but the silence of my friends. When you see what's happening to our children, when you see the things they have to deal with, when people start talking about cutting the funding so that we can serve our children, look like somebody should be mad, somebody should be angry, somebody should be marching, somebody should be taken to the street. If we're talking about our children, as a matter of fact, I'm not angry, I'm just passionate. And I'm happy, Gina, to be amongst other passionate people here today at NAA. And James Baldwin said a passion is angry. He said a passion is unfriendly. He said a passion is contemptuous of all what is not itself. But he said a passion contains 2 things. It contains a challenge, and it contains an unspeakable hope. And everywhere I go in this world now, when I'm talking about our children, I challenge everybody that has to do anything with our children, but I refuse to leave you with an unspeakable hope, because that's what our children are missing this day. Our children are missing hope. Somehow in the greatest country in the world, our children are waking up and not understanding this is the only place in the world where you can get up every day and create a better tomorrow for yourself. I have a friend named Dr. Truth. And Dr. Truth said, Mackie, when you lose money, you've lost a little. He said, when you lose a friend, you've lost a lot. He said, when you've lost hope, you've lost it. And many a times when I go into schools and I go into cities and I go into rural areas of America and look in the eyes of our children, look like they've lost it all. See, we have to understand that if we want our kids to achieve, we want our kids to be great, they have to go down the street. And many of our kids are in a place called despair. And when you start in despair, you got to go down a street called hope. And after you cross over the street called hope, that's when you get to achievement. And a lot of times when people come to sell us stuff and offer us things to work with our kids in an out-of-school time, really what they're offering kits and devices and technology that are for kids already hopeful, like my 2 little privileged kids. And that technology and that stuff can get a hopeful kid from hopeful to achievement. But what about the kids that start in despair? Because many of the kids that we're working with, that's where they are. And to get a kid from despair to hope, and then from hope to achievement, to go from despair to hope, that's a heart issue. To go from hope to achievement, that's a head issue. A white technology board will take you from hope to achievement, but it definitely won't take you from despair to hope. So many of our kids are in despair, and we have to get them to a place called hope. And this thing called hope is not soft. This thing called hope is not play. Somebody spoke hope into me a long time ago and transformed my life. Hope is real. Hope is the thing that caused the old lady to sit down and caused the nation to stand up. Hope is the thing that made Tuskegee Airmen believe they could fly airplanes when their own government told them they couldn't. Hope is the thing that made George Washington Carver do with a peanut 100 years ago that Harvard PhDs still cannot do today. Hope is the thing that turned Detroit Red into Malcolm X. Hope is the thing that turned meth heads and crackheads into teachers and pimps into preachers. Hope is the thing that made our founding fathers right. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Hope is the thing that made James Henry say, give me liberty or give me, Patrick Henry say, give me liberty or give me debt. Hope is the thing that made John F. Kennedy say, don't ask what your nation can do for you, ask what you can do for your nation. Hope is the thing that made even George W. Bush, in his second term, his second March speech was the duty of hope. As a matter of fact, Ronald Reagan, when he talked about the shining city on the hill, he called America the last best hope for man on earth. Hope is the thing that took a black preacher and made him dream that he could change the world. Hope is the thing that took a 47-year-old man and sent him to jail for 27 years and he came out a world leader. Hope is the thing that took a little black boy with a white mom and a goat herding daddy and made him believe that he can be president. A whole lot of people said, no, you can't, but America stood up and said, yes, you can. You see, hope is that little voice in your head that whispers maybe when the whole world is screaming no. And I don't know about you, where I'm from, and many of the kids I work with in my after-school program, the world tell them no every day. Can I go to school here? No. Can I work over here? No. Can I do this? No. Can I come to your job? No. When I go to the mall and I don't have my PhD on my forehead, people tell me no. I met somebody last night. We grew up together, and I asked her for her phone number 20 years ago, and you know what she told me? See, when the world screams no, hope says yes. National After School Association, we're here and we do the work that we do because every day the world may say no, but we tell our children yes. And when we tell them yes, that's when they get the hope of what's possible and what's capable in a place called America. Don't never underestimate the power that you have in a person that you are to drive the future for the children that you work with. You listen to a lot of people and you think technology and the stuff that you buy can make geniuses. No, the only thing that ever changed their life, a whiteboard ain't changed no life, no STEM kit ain't changed no life. The only thing that ever changed their life was a caring person grabbing a little knucklehead boy or girl by the collar like my third grade teacher did to me. And she looked me in my eyes and she said, Kelvin, you're going to learn, I'm going to kill you. She said, Kelvin, I believe in you. That's the 4 words. That should be the basis of every out-of-school time and after-school program. When our kids come, they should know that there are caring adults there that believe in them if nobody else believes in them. We've created an organization called STEM NOLA, and our goal is to engage the entire community in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, high-quality hands-on experiences. We've built a community, and we believe a community is child-centered, adult-governed, and elderly ruled, such that anytime a kid show up, they can see him or herself anywhere in the spectrum, such that on a given Saturday, we have anywhere from 150 to 200 kids in a gym K through 12. We surround those kids with college students. Then we surround those kids and college students with STEM professionals, such that we have vertical mentoring, such that a little first grader who's never met a doctor unless they were sick now can look up and touch the hand or face of a doctor and work together and believe that he or she could be him or her. There's 3 things in this community that we try to get across that I want to give to you. And the first thing we have to give in our community is something called skill set. Terrence talked about, skills for the 21st century. But in the 21st century, there are only going to be 2 types of people in the world, and it won't be white or black, it won't be Asian or Hispanic. It'll be those in the know and those not in the know. In our after-school program, we want our kids to be in the know. In the 21st century, you got to have skills to pay the bills. The man or woman who doesn't have skills asks people how much they pay. The man or woman who does have skills tell people how much they charge. We have to make sure our program is up to par so that our children are building skills, transferable skills in the 21st century so they can tell people how much they charge. For my people in Freeport, Freedom, Michigan, I want you to know there's 3 things in the 21st century our kids are going to have the opportunity to do. Our kids only have 3 things that they can do in the 21st century. They're going to take something, break something, and or make something. So if we don't give them the skills and education to make something, we only leave them with the two options that we see on the news every night, to take and break. And when we start talking about make, we want to make sure that they understand that there's a lot of things they can make in this world. One thing they can make is money. There's two types of wealth in this world. One is making money. Another one is making a difference. The lowest form is making money, and the highest form is making a difference. There are billionaires who've died and nobody know their name. But there have been poor people who've made a difference, such that when you die, people build a statue to you because you made a difference. And people like you are getting up doing that every day. And you may not understand it until a kid come back 10 or 15 years later and look at you and say, I am because you are. And then you know that your life mattered. And that's got to be the fuel that keep us going every day. So we got to make sure our kids have a skill set. Next thing we have to do is make sure they have assets. And we think about assets, we're always talking about money without realizing the greatest asset that we have and our children have are the people in our lives. That's why when we work with kids, we have to make sure that we meet them where they are. Our philosophy is that we have to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So therefore, we take all of our programming into the community where the kids are, rather than having the kids come to us where we are comfortable. And then when you go into the community and you start working with people and working with people where they are, they respond to you because they then know and believe that you thought about them. And then it's easier to engage them right where they are. Then once you engage them right where they are, you can bring them anywhere you want them to be. The greatest asset to your after-school program are the people in your program. You know, they asked Don King, what is success? Don King says, set yourself on fire and people show up to watch you burn. The poet Key said, education is not the lighting of a bucket, but it's not the filling of a bucket, but the lighting of a fire. Sometimes I think many of our programs are not achieving where they are because we are not on fire. Maybe the kids show up and they see somebody not passionate and on fire for what they're trying to do, so they can't rise to the level that you are, such that they show up passionate and you're such a dud, they come down to where you are. I've been walking around, I can't believe that person working the after-school program. Look like she mad with the world or somebody this morning. We talking about assets, and after skill sets and assets, we got to make sure that our programming and our kids have the right mindset. I know y'all heard about mindset and the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, but our kids got to have the right mindset for the 21st century. They have to get some dirt beneath their feet, some wind behind their back, and put something in their head so that they could take care of themselves. They have the mindset that the government ain't coming. And every day I got to be doing something such that I'm a better person tomorrow. In 10 or 15 years now, I'll be able to take care of myself. And when you got that type of mindset, you show up ready to do the work. When we have that type of mindset, we'll show up and make sure that all the kids in there understand that we are preparing you not for today or tomorrow. We're not preparing you to compete against California or New Mexico or the North or the South. We're training you so you can compete against the world. Because that's what they're being trained for. And if we don't give our kids the skills that they need, they're going to be in a dastardly situation. I'm from New Orleans. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, my family lost 29 houses. 11 years ago today, I lost my stepmother, and 6 days after that, I lost my daddy. We had 2 funerals in 3 days, real life, because they couldn't get the treatment that they deserved in the aftermath of the greatest engineering disaster in a free country called America. And right then and there, I made a commitment. I said, never again shall our children live in a place like New Orleans below sea level and not understand the hazards of the environment that they're living in. So that's why our STEM programming is culturally and environmentally relevant. It doesn't make sense for kids in New Orleans to be studying earthquakes when they almost just died from a flood. So it is our responsibility to make sure that our kids understand their environment and how the environment can be a laboratory. Now you use the environment to get them to see why the skills that you're teaching them are necessary for them to survive and live. You got to have the right mindset because you're not going to know, they don't know what's going to happen. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, I was a professor at Tulane University, the first and only African-American ever tenured in the history of the College of Engineering at Tulane University. But the president of Tulane University made an unbelievable decision in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, the greatest engineering disaster in the history of a free country called America. He decided to keep the football team and eliminate the engineering program. And I lost a six-figure tenure position overnight with 8 people living in my house, with my daddy dying from lung cancer on hospice. And if I didn't have 4 STEM degrees at that time, I wouldn't have been able to take care of me and mine. But since somebody had breathed hope in me like you all are doing, and I went to school and did what I was supposed to do, when I lost my 6-figure guaranteed job, I went out and started a biofuel company where we take waste streams and convert to biofuels and sell it to oil companies. Now that's gangster. And that's what we want for all our children. And it's funny, when they read my bio, I say, I want to meet that dude, because I don't know that dude. Because see, growing up in New Orleans, I was just like many of the kids that you all are working with. I had a wicked crossover and a jump shot that just wouldn't quit. A little dude named Avery Johnson was my backup. And one night I took a long jump shots, because I was going to go to the NBA. I was going to go to the NBA and save my family. And when I would get to the NBA, I was going to make a whole lot of money, and nobody's going to be able to tell me nothing. And one night I took a long jump shot. One of the few jump shots I missed. I went to get it, and a young man beat me to the ball. And he grabbed my ball in my arm. They went that way. I went this way, and I suffered a traumatic shoulder separation. My coach picked me up. He said, oh, no. And he took me to the hospital. When he got to the hospital, a doctor came in. The doctor looked. The doctor said, oh, no, and he ran back out. And the doctor came back in with 3 more doctors. And all 4 of the doctors got around me, and they took a sheet, and they tied me up. They did a tug-of-war and popped my shoulder back in. They said, young man, we got something to tell you. And I was like, what? They said, what? You'll never be able to play basketball again. You suffered a traumatic shoulder separation. And right then and there, they told this little ignorant boy to go have surgery, but I wouldn't listen. NAA, they told us, all these doctors with all this experience told this little ignorant boy to go have surgery, but I wouldn't listen. Well, we won't listen. We're already part of the walking, breathing dead with no future and no hope. I hope you all at these seminars are listening, because they have experts here today and yesterday and tomorrow giving you all information that you can use to breathe hope into our children. But see, when you won't listen, there got to be consequences and repercussions. Now, they may not happen now, but they definitely will happen later. And since I wouldn't listen, 20 years later and 30 more shoulder separations, because you know everybody who played basketball in high school still going pro. I was out there trying to play basketball. My wife said, you better pick up golf with your broke arm. Better play some golf. But one night I was speaking at the University of Michigan, acting crazy on a stage like this, and I did a little jump shot, and my shoulder popped out. Bam. Young lady on the front row went, ah! The client ran up on the stage. He said, what's wrong? What's wrong? I said, my shoulder out, my shoulder out. He said, what to do? I said, what to do? He said, hold me, hold me. And there was 2 grown men on the stage like this. I said, thank God this is a blue state. He said, Calvin, what to do? I said, turn my arm. And he turned my shoulder and popped it in. And he grabbed the mic. He said, look, we got to stop. Dr. Mackie has injured himself giving a speech. And I grabbed the mic with my good arm, and I said, no. I said, this is what my daddy taught me, and I know this is what the after-school program teaching their kids every day. My daddy taught me that Mackie men are smart. We finish what we. That's what we got to teach our kids. Too soon to quit. They got to finish this thing. And I finished speaking because they had like 2,000 people like this. I had 1,000 books to sign. I grabbed that mic, and I finished. And I sold a whole lot of books like I'm going to do today. After I finished the speech, they took me to the hospital. After I got to the hospital, they did an MRI. After the MRI, they rushed me to emergency surgery. I went through 4 hours of emergency surgery. And then for 18 months, I had to go to rehab. After 18 months, this is only as high as I can raise my shoulder now. And people say, well, Kelvin, what's the consequence? What's the consequence? I say, I have 2 beautiful sons, Miles and Mason. And now when I go to their flag football games and they score a touchdown, I'm in the stands like this, touchdown. Everybody laughing. They're like, who daddy? And my son's like, that ain't my daddy. Because I wouldn't listen. We need y'all to listen. We need y'all to get the professional development and grow. Never forget, I separated my shoulder. My mom brought me home. You see, we're talking about out of school time, but it was always out of school time that's made a difference in my life. Growing up in the inner city of New Orleans, I was a home start baby. Before there was a head start, they used to send a teacher to my house. And still to this day, I can remember once a week, early childhood, she teaching me shapes and blocks. In that same house, I remember that night after I separated my shoulder, my coach came and knocked on the door. And he went knock, 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 and my mom answered the door. The coach said, Miss Mackie, I'm sorry to tell you, but your son will never be able to play basketball again. My mom looked at me and she only had one thing to say. She said, what are you going to do now? We told you to study. We told you to study. I said, Mama, what about my shoulder? She said, boy, shut up and get in this house. That's a real mama there. We need more mamas like that. I came in the house, I laid in the bed, and I looked up and said, God, what am I doing? God said, boy, don't worry about your shoulder. You're going to do more for this world with your head than you ever thought you'd do with your legs and your arms. This is March Madness, and many of our kids watching TV dreaming that they're going to do stuff with their legs, but we at the National After School Association knowing that they're going to do more with their mind than they ever thought they'll do with their legs. I got up the next day and I went to find my favorite teacher, Miss V, at school. When I got to school, I said, Miss V, you heard about my? She said, shut up, Calvin, we heard about your shoulder. She said, but what are you going to do now? We told you to study, we told you to study. I said, I don't know, Miss V. Miss V said, Calvin, I don't know. She said, Calvin, tell me something. I said, all right, Miss V, I want to be an engineer. She said, who? You? You grew up in a house with no books. You see, life and death lives in the tongue. And we have to be very careful about what we speak to our children. They may come from a community where no one speaks hope, but when they come to your program, you got to speak hope every day. She said, who, you, Calvin? I said, yeah. She said, Calvin, do you know what an engineer does? I said, no, but it sounds real good. She said, well, look, Calvin, you're going to be an engineer, you got to go to college. I said, bet. She said, nobody in your family ever been to college before, Calvin. I said, so I'm going to go. She said, all right, Calvin. She said, if you're going to go to college, you have to go take this test. I said, what test? She said, the SAT. Now, NAA, I was ignorant. Now, I was ignorant because I grew up in a house with no books. Now, don't get bent out of shape when people call you ignorant. Ignorant means you just don't know. Stupid means there's no hope for you. Flavor Flav, stupid. Meek Mill, stupid for messing with Drake back to back. Somebody got it. Back to back. I was ignorant. I was so ignorant when they told me to go take the SAT. I thought SAT meant Saturday. And then I knew it meant Saturday because then they told me the test was on Genius. So that Friday night, I took my little girlfriend to the game to take, to support our team. After the game, we went to the little dance where I got my boogie on with my broke on. And I took her home, and I got up on Saturday morning to take my Saturday test. And all the kids that was in your program that you worked with for years, they understood that test-taking skills was very necessary. They were prepared. They were biting their nails because they knew that this test can make a difference in their life. But nobody could tell me nothing. I put my head down. They had to wake me up. I said, young man, wake up, take this test. And when they gave me that test, I was so ignorant. I looked at that test, and I didn't know that word, it's the that word, it's the that word, it's the that word. So y'all know what our kids do when they don't know what they're supposed to know. I started going A, B, C, D, D, C, B, A, B, C, D. Whoa, I better change this thing up. C, B, C, B, A. Yeah, I know that's how some of y'all got there. I know my kind. I've been seeing you all around. I looked around. I was the first one finished. I was like a bunch of dummies and put my head down. They had to wake me up. Say, young man, wake up. Go home. Go home. And back then, we didn't have Facebook, MySpace, Instagram, Snapchat. We didn't have the internet. We had to wait 6 weeks on our scores. So 6 weeks later, I went to the mailbox, and I opened it up, saw those scores. Reached in, I pulled them out, and I ripped them open. I looked at them, and I said, oh, yeah. And I went to school to find Miss V. And then when I got to school, Miss V said, Kelvin, you got them? I said, I got them, Miss V. Miss V said, Kelvin, how did you do? Ignorantly and confident, I looked at Miss V. I said, Miss V, I got 84%. She said, Kelvin, 84% on the SAT? That's unbelievable, Kelvin, especially for you. She said, because, Kelvin, I never heard the test explained in percentages before. She said, Kelvin, what's your raw score? What's your total score? Ignorantly and confident, I looked at her, and I screamed 840. She was shaking her head. She said, no, son, the test is not out of 1,000. The test is out of 1,600. You don't have 84%. You barely have 50%. You need to go take that test again. I said, oh, no, not that Saturday test. I stick with my Friday test. I do much better on Friday. I was ignorant. But Ms. V realized that man cannot create a test to measure what's inside of you if you're really willing to work towards it. We got to understand that all of our children have greatness in them. She said, Kelvin, you still want to be an engineer? I said, bet. She said, Kelvin, there's a college recruitment fair in the New Orleans Superdome next Saturday. Next Saturday, I went down to that Superdome, and I kicked the door open, and I walked in. The first table I saw was the Georgia Tech engineers. Divine intervention. Thank you, God. And I went to the Georgia Tech table, and the guy at Georgia Tech said, what can I do for you? I said, man, I'd like to be an engineer. He said, you came to the right place. We the Ramlin Wreck from Georgia Tech and heck of engineers. I was like, yeah. He said, son, what's your SAT score? Ignorantly and confidently, I looked at him and I screamed, 840. He was shaking his head. He wouldn't even give me an application. Like, boy, we never heard anything like that. See, the lesson there was just because the school ranked #1, it doesn't mean it's #1 for all our children. We have to understand that there's a place in America, over 3,000 colleges that take our kids, give them a 2-year, 4-year degree such that they have the skills for the 21st century. It's our job to get them there. He said, Kelvin, you can't come to our school, and he just pointed at a table across the way. There's a table with a guy at it who didn't even have a skirt on the table. He said, go over there. And I went over to that table. The guy at this table said, what can I do for you, son? I said, man, I don't know. That dude over there told me to come over here. He said, son, what's your SAT score? I'm like, I said, man, I can play some ball. He said, no, I need those scores. I said, man, I can dance. He said, I need those scores. This time I whispered. I said, 840. He was shaking his head. He said, I tell you what, son, you're a diamond in the rough, but a diamond sure enough. Sign right here and come to Morehouse. We'll make you into a doctor. We'll make you into a lawyer. We'll make you into an engineer. NAA, many of the children we are working with are diamonds in the rough, but don't you ever forget, they are diamonds sure enough. In June 1985, my mom took me to Morehouse College, and she had never been on a college campus before. When I got to Morehouse, everybody laughed at the way I talked. They laughed at me because I'm from New Orleans and we talk funny. They laughed at me because I was saying things like, I'm bout it, how you do that there, and I'm the man right here. You heard me, little woadies off the heezy for sheezy up in here, cousin. You see, I'm bilingual. I'm bilingual. See, you don't have to come here via Ellis Island, the Rio Grande, or be on a piece of board, a cardboard, and land in Florida and be a person in need of English as a second language. I grew up in a house where nobody was conjugating the verb to be. It was I be, we be, you be, all us be up in here. They said, boy, see spot run? I was like, no. They said, right. They said, don't pass go. Go directly to remedial reading. And they sent me to the basement of Wheeler Hall at Morehouse College with 8th graders, where they called me and my buddy LD for Louisiana dummies. And thank goodness Morehouse believed in hope. And every day on my way to remedial reading, they had a sign that said, when you find out you're behind in a race of life, you got 2 choices, run faster or quit. NAA, the problem right now is that 2 of our children are quitting. I got up every day and I ran and I ran and I ran. Morehouse put me in front of a TV like this when they let the words go by faster and faster. And every day I read and I read and I read. And after 3.5 years of being told that I wasn't college material, I finished Morehouse #1 in mathematics, #5 in the largest class Morehouse ever produced, magna cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa. Thank you. Thank you. And when I walked off the stage, they put a microphone in front of my face. They said, Kelvin, when your father dropped out of school in 8th grade to pick cotton, when your mother went to a state-approved Negro high school, when the test said you wasn't college material, who'd ever thought you'd come to Morehouse to do the things you've done? They said, Kelvin, what are you going to do now? I said, man, you know what? He said, what? I said, bro, you know what? He said, what? I said, man, I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. It's only 1.5 miles away and a $1.50 bus ride. Don't allow anybody to stand in the way of your dreams, of our children's dreams. Not because of your race, your sex, your gender, your socioeconomic background. Nothing should stand between us and our children and what we've been put on this earth to do. 2 weeks later, I started Georgia Tech the school where they said I was never supposed to be. 18 months later, I finished a second undergraduate degree, a BS in mechanical engineering. 2 degrees in 5 years to the inner city, ghetto kid from back of town, Gert Town, Zion City of New Orleans. 2 years after that, I got a master's in mechanical engineering, and 4 years after that, in 1996, I became one of 11 African Americans to receive a PhD in mechanical engineering. Now, NAA, I didn't come here to brag. I came here to tell you that story to let you know that each and every one of us, and each and every one of the children that we work with, been impregnated with something so great, such that if they are properly incubated and allowed to give birth to their dreams, they'll make Bill Gates look like a midget in the annals of history. But too many of our children and too many of us have already committed to having abortions on our dreams. Why are you here? Why you do this work? Did you just come to Dallas to play? Are you willing to get what you need to go back to take this thing to another level? Because as the rappers say, there's levels to this. Are you just comfortable in a position that you are? Every day you show up comfortable, you might cause the life not to be what it's supposed to be. Closing, I want you all to know I thank you all for the work that you do. Because it was in an out-of-school time program in New Orleans called Youth Development Association. And last time we had great budget cuts in the 1980s, this program got cut out. But it was in that program, I'll never forget, when you used to show up in the morning and they'd give us graham crackers and orange juice. And that was the only time I got to drink orange juice because my mom used to buy orange juice, and that was for my daddy breakfast or his daddy drink. But they used to give us little kits and hands-on things to do. And I never forget first getting my little Elmer's glue and my popsicle sticks, and I made a little box for my mom. And then never forget I made a house, and never forget I took a piece of cardboard and I drew the rooms, and I took styrofoam. I made my first house. And one day I made a little car, and the car went across the floor, and the guy said, "You're going to be an engineer." I had never met an engineer in my life. When I went to college, I had never met an engineer. But what stuck with me was that guy said, "You're going to be an engineer." He spoke hope into me. Then he gave me something, a pathway to get there. That's what we do every day. In closing, I got a plane to catch later on. I fly a lot. I'm a 2 million mile on Delta. When I don't show up, Delta's like, call me like, "Mackie, everything all right?" But my wife, she said, "Calvin, you need to stop flying all that because we got 2 little boys and, people running planes into the mountains. You just need to fly." I said, "Nope, I'm flying." She said, "Look, you need to stop flying." I said, "Look, if the plane crashed, remember 2 things." She said, "What?" One, I was fighting. You let them know. When CNN comes, don't be like, "I know he wasn't that type of person." No, you let them know I was up in there slinging. I was up in there fighting. If anybody, just let them know that. Number 2, if the plane crashes, I want you to know you're going to be all right. She said, "Stop talking like that, Calvin." I said, "No, you're going to be all right. If I die, you're going to be all right." She said, "Calvin, stop talking like this." I said, "Look, if I die, there's only one word I want on my tombstone." I said, "Promise me." She said, "Calvin, stop talking like that. Stop talking like that." I said, "No, I need to know that you're going to do this." She said, "Calvin, stop that." I said, "Look, if I go down, you're going to be all right." She said, "Well, look here. How all right am I going to be?" I said, "Double indemnity." I said, "Look, if the plane go down, promise me, this is just the only word you're going to put on my tombstone." She said, "Calvin, don't talk like you got 2 boys." I said, "Look, I need to know this." She said, "What?" I said, "If the plane crashed today, and y'all got to write my obituary, and you got to write one word on my tombstone, the only word I want is the word empty. Because I want the world to know I gave it my," and that's the only thing we're asking you all to do. Give it your all for our children. And they will always remember that they are because you were. You all have a great conference. And thank you all for listening. Thank you. Thank you.